even if I didn't like the subject, it would behoove me to give you a platform to talk about your book, because I think in the culture wars, our side is not well represented in the arts, in film, in TV, in documentaries, and certainly not in kids' books. Tell me why you made a book called A Day with Sir John A.
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time at libraries and at bookstores because I have two young children of my own who are 5 and almost 3. And you'll see often that the featured displays for children's books, it's always something to do with gender, race. It's always very bleeding heart. It's always very ideological and politicized. And like you said, I just wanted to make something neutral, something that you might read in the late 90s or the early 2000s. And so we chose to do a book called A Day with Sir John A. And it's about Sir John A. Macdonald. And it's a picture book. So it's a blend of fiction and nonfiction. And as far as I know, this is actually the only storybook about Sir John A. Macdonald on the market. So imagine you have, Father of Confederation, first Prime Minister of Canada, and there aren't really a lot of books for children. In fact, no storybooks, like I said, about him. Whereas if you think about the States, children are very aware of who their heroes are. They're aware of, Roosevelt, Washington, Lincoln, but it's just not the same over here. And so we wanted to address that gap.
Yeah, when you think about it, there's so much of this genre in the U.S., but I mean, Sir John A., he was stripped off the $10 bill by Trudeau. And I think that was a signal of where things were going. I think it's designed to, if you cut off the roots to your past, you're unmoored for the future. And I think that's the point of destroying our national heroes, to demoralize us, to tell us that we believe in nothing. And absolutely, they're targeting kids. Now, I was looking at some of the pages of the book while you were talking there, and you don't avoid those slurs against Macdonald. You sort of deal with them up front. In the storybook, children are saying, well, I heard he was locking kids up in residential schools. I heard he was evil. So you're not even starting from a clean slate. You're starting from the default in 2024, which is hostility to Sir John A. Macdonald, aren't you? It's almost like you're undoing some lies or preparing young kids to hear lies about Sir John A.
Exactly. Yeah. So the concept is that there's a young boy who's, an elementary school student. His name is Emerson. He's going on a field trip to a fictionalized museum called the Museum of Canada's First Prime Minister. And he starts hearing how all of his classmates and the tour guide at this museum, they all seem to only have negative things to say about Sir John A. Macdonald. And he kind of starts off from the point of, hey, I thought this is the guy who, got the railroad built that went all across the country. You guys think this is so bad? And then throughout the book, he goes on a journey. And like you mentioned, we kind of address significant historical moments without demonizing. Because if there's one thing we want people to take away from the book, children, parents, grandparents alike, anyone who reads it, is we can't demonize our great figures of the past, and we can't look at them through the lens of just the present day and think, oh, we're so enlightened now, look at how bad they were back then. Well, the fact is we live in Canada now, and that's thanks to Sir John A.
Yeah, and everything we are is as a result of what he and others did before us. And so you can't it would be like rejecting your parents or your grandparents because they had a certain fashion sense or a certain slang. I mean, and there's a hubris to thinking that we are the ultimate in moral evolution, that we've got it absolutely right. I dare say some of the diabolical things being done in our culture will in a generation or less be regarded as abominable. I won't get into those things now, but we could probably come up with a list of them. Now, in addition to writing the book. Of course, it's lovely, illustrated by Tatiana Gubich. Who's she, and how did you connect with her?
Yeah, so she's our illustrator. She's actually not Canadian, so considering, the very detailed work she had to do with kind of reconstructing Canada in the 1880s, we're really happy with what she was able to do, because there was a lot of research that had to go into it. So yeah, we're happy about how the illustrations turned out. At the end of the day, we want the book to appeal to children, and so the illustrations are vivid and they'll be appealing, but hopefully, parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles will also want to buy this book for the children in their lives, because it's like, okay, finally, there's a book that will tell an element of Canadian history that won't be over politicized and just an overcorrection and apologetic, because that's such a big part of it for me. Was I just hated to see all this apologizing and guilt and shame, because when kids go through the K-12 system, that's all it's going to be, right? When they do their social studies and humanities courses, it's just going to be those years of apologizing and feeling guilt over the past. Well, here's a book, A Day with Sir John A., that we're targeting that we wrote for ages 3 to 7. So we want to get in there early and say, this is a father of Confederation. These are all the great things he did. He was a man of spirit. He had a progressive worldview. And so we're addressing that actually before a lot of kids will learn about Macdonald in the school system, in the curriculum. Mm-hmm. And when they do learn about Macdonald, for a lot of people, the takeaway has been and will be, oh, this is the guy of residential schools and head tax, Chinese head tax. And that's all they'll retain. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping that people will retain so much more.
Well, I'm excited about it. And you say the market is children ages 3 to 7. There's a building in the city I'm in. It's called Queen's Park. It's the Provincial Parliament of Ontario. And there used to be a statue of Sir John A. Macdonald right out front. But for years now, that statue has been entombed in a kind of coffin or sarcophagus. They don't have the courage to take it down yet, but they have the cowardice to build a wooden tomb around it, because they don't dare look Sir John A. in the eye, but they don't dare take him down. And that's in a conservative government like Ontario's. What a crazy day we live in. Lindsay, it's great to see you. The book is called A Day with Sir John A. Where can people get it? I take it Amazon is the best bet?
Amazon is the best bet, yes.
Well, it would be wonderful if bookstores actually stocked it, but I think I'm savvy enough to know that would never happen in Canada. Lindsay Shepherd, great to catch up with you. Congratulations on the book.